Howdy. So, another hobby vlog, and just quick update this week on stuff that I've actually gotten done. Those would be actually putting basing on the standing versions of the metal Perry miniatures USGIs. I have not yet based the kneeling ones because I'm not totally sure how I'm going to go about producing that hedge, and I don't want to make more work for myself because I acted too quickly on that. Also, I have now actually gone through all of the different bodies on one sprue each of the USGI command sprue and the USGI just line infantry sprue from Perry Miniatures. And I really tried my best to follow instructions. And so just to reiterate some of the work that I did with those, the first models that I made were a couple of prone infantrymen, one with a Garand as intended, and one with a BAR that I don't think is intended to be modeled that way, but I think I can get away with it as someone low crawling forward. And then I also made a man loading an end block into his Garand, you can see there, and one man holding a BAR, just standing up and firing. Honestly, the pose is so casual, and center of gravity with the bar is so far away from him, he's not really braced at all. So I'm thinking what I should really do is give him a wall to lean up against with that. But be that as it may, as an aside, something I do appreciate about these bars is that they do not have bipods, which is something I see a lot with the Warlord Games Warlord Games BARs, but I understand not being common late war necessarily. And the last of the early guys I made was just a guy with a radio and a pistol on his belt. Also got a big bag on the side, which would probably make him a good artillery officer or something such as that. I've also got 3 models that I made over the course of the whole week that I'm going to show at the end, but the other ones I can show in order that I made them. So one day I made 2 models, and this was one of them, carrying a grease gun, of which there's only 1 grease gun per command sprue, which makes that an actually pretty rare gun overall for the kit. That means there's only 2 of them in the entire kit. It means there's only 1 pose for them, which I'm rather disappointed by. I think that grease guns need to be represented more, considering that they were on their way to replace a Thompson. Unfortunately, fewer grease guns were made than Thompsons. I made a man in a kind of command pose, if I can get him to stand up. In a kind of command pose with a Thompson slung on his shoulder, pointing off into one opposite direction with his hand. And so each of those were made just with one other model that I did a whole lot of work on. Those are my low effort models. The second one, I also went ahead and put together and cleaned up the bodies for all the other models. And then it was last night I decided to put together a bunch of guys, including one man moving forward with Thompson, I guess maybe a low ready, man with an M1 carbine, sort of aimed, one man holding his Garand in front of him while crouched, and yeah, I actually did a little bit of work just making the sling look more natural with where it would fall with gravity. I did one man carrying his Garand and getting ready to throw a grenade, which at this distance may be a bit difficult to see. Let me see what I can do about that. Maybe. No, that doesn't look like it's going to work with me. But the idea is there. In his right hand, he's supposed to have a grenade. Aha! So he's got a grenade clutched in his right hand there. The idea being him running up to some German pillbox or up to the window of an occupied building to throw that in, take out a machine gun nest or something like that. And then I have another guy carrying his Thompson in a more aimed pose. So I did all 5 of these plus 1 last night. Now, don't have bases on any of the guys yet. I'm just going to use what extra Warlord bases I have, because I don't have a whole lot of 25mm shaped things aside from those. But what I was really proud of getting done this week were my interpretation of the machine gun team repositioning. I did this all with 1 sprue each of the command sprue and the regular infantry sprue of USGIs from Perry Miniatures. Now, I guess I should center these up actually. No, just do them one at a time. Now, I will say, they are not perfect by any means. This man, let me see if I can get some better light on. So, there wasn't really a good arm for carrying the Browning. I did take off the mounting details of the tripod. You can see though, I mean, not point with my fat 500-meter finger. His wrist, I did cut that off, reorient it with some surgery. I am absolutely, might I say, loving using this, I believe it's either thin or extra thin plastic cement. Well, let me not get that glare of light. But this is absolutely great for the kind of stuff I'm doing. I feel like it's a lot easier to control than just super glue or some of the plastic gels I've used before. And it does require a bit more attention. I have to act a bit more quickly, but I think it offers me a lot more control over what's actually going on in the miniature. Now, I am thinking of scraping the, wow, if I can do that properly at all. Honestly, he should not have an ammo belt. I should have thought about that when I was making him. He should not have an ammo belt, which means he doesn't need the X strap, because unless I give him some kind of bag, but I don't really know how to quickly and easily do that unless I kit bash something, because the guy carrying the machine gun, well, actually, I'll have to look that up again. I remember seeing details on, okay, so I still have a lot of work to do on these guys, mostly minor details like who has ammo, pouches, what kind of ammo, also cleaning up stuff like the hand there, which is presently barely attached and doesn't look terribly good. So I move him off to the side. That was the first guy that I worked on, I believe on Monday night, maybe. The second man that I worked on is the man carrying the ammo can. So have the Grand slung over his shoulder. The ammo can is from the kit, but it is meant to be an open ammo can that has ammo feeding out of it. And that just won't work for this purpose. So I used a bit of sprue to create a latch for the ammo can, as well as to create some handles. That little bit of angle there, and it's much harder to see on the back here. Maybe I can do something about that. But if I can look in 2 places at once, that bit of sprue there, those are intended to look like the actual handles for it. Now, I could try to use the belt of ammo that's supposed to be coming out of the can, go across his chest, but it's frankly not very long. It's only that piece there. Doesn't really have much of a curve to it that I can wrap over his shoulders or anything, so it'd be just going over one shoulder and to his back, and it's not terribly long. It just doesn't feel right. So I don't think I have any other plastic surgery to clean up on this guy, But what I do have is I need to kit bash with the German Grenadiers kit from Warlord and give this guy a belt of ammo to sling over himself. And I'm debating, sorry, I was just thinking about stuff that's rather irrelevant. Never mind. Anyways, the last guy that I worked on yesterday is man carrying the tripod. So I did a little bit of surgery on the tripod itself, which frankly may not be accurate. I had the rear leg as though it was hanging down. I'm not sure how much that would happen in the real world if held like this. I was able to use this arm was originally, sorry, let me orient that better. This arm was originally holding an M1 carbine, so I cut off the trigger finger, cut off the carbine. You can probably still see bits of it. No, wait. Yeah, there's bits of the carbine under there. I must admit, I forget what that held previously. I did a good bit of experimenting with what arm orientations would work best to get this kind of pose, and I had considered having him carry it just under one arm and wrapped up in the carry case, or carry, I don't really know. Calling it a case would make it sound like it's a hard case. Calling it bag would make it sound like it contains the whole thing. But there's basically a wrapping that goes around the midsection here when it's all folded up. But in no photos from the war was I able to find someone carrying it like that. And there are very few photos of people carrying this equipment in the first place. And of course no real documentation on how it was done. The M1 here was also shaved off from a hand because there are no free M1 carbines. They're all modeled in hand, and I'm planning on, in addition to putting some more green stuff here to make the connection. Sorry, that's my bad. I just kicked my little camera stand here. But in addition to, if I can stand by. In addition to making a more firm connection here and here, so it actually looks like he's holding the actual thing instead of it levitating off of him. I'm going to green stuff that up, and I'm going to green stuff a sling for this carbine. And then he's actually going to be pretty well based off of a reference photo of a Marine that I found carrying the tripod. Although the Marine was oriented this way, honestly the carbine was lower on the Marine. But this was about the angle that I was able to get the photo at. So I'm still not sure what that third leg looks like. But that's really the substantive progress I have made this week. I'm going to quickly throw these guys onto bases because I have a game tomorrow. I am going to be playing the third game in my local league, and they are 1,250 point games, 14 order dice max, and roll for mission on day of game. So I really don't know what I'm going to be doing, and I find that really hard to prepare for, but I know I'm going against a Japanese player, so that should be interesting, I'm sure. I have workshopped my list a little bit. I guess there was some other piece of progress that I made. I did do some cleaning up on the parts for the Jeep, but I have not glued it all together. But also, something I'm going to be using tomorrow is I have basically put together the mortar team the first mortar team from Perry Miniatures. These are not liking the light whatsoever, but hey, beggars can't be choosers, I guess. Let me see if putting that overhead. Yeah, that's much better. Okay, so, and this is a 60 millimeter mortar. I did my darndest to find the right orientation for all the parts on it. And so, current concept of operations is that I'm going to have 4 infantry squads, all veteran, plus a, I think, 4-man veteran officer squad. One of the infantry squads is going to be an armored mortar section, supported by an independent 2-man mortar section, which I will be able to use some of the airborne minis I got to represent in the meantime. And I'm going to use those as the infantry sections as my real workhorses. I'm going to have an FAO, a forward air observer in particular, to try to headhunt big blobs of enemies. I'm bringing a scout car, an M8 scout car. I'm bringing my, oh, why is this stuck? Anyways, I'm bringing, of course, my M3 scout car, going to be one of the most painted models in the force, and I'm bringing an M4 Sherman. I was advised to change my original list setup by someone who has played a lot longer than me, who has had a lot more success than I have. So I hope I'm bringing a much more balanced force than I was originally thinking. Honestly, my goal with this match is to break even. I want to force a draw, and I do not want to lose kill points, because I've really struggled with actually playing well in this game. And at this point, I kind of just want to finish out the league, be done with it, and then focus on narrative style games or more fun games. Having to play 1,250 points from the start has been difficult for me, and I'm definitely not a competitive player. I would like to win games, but I have not found any success in such, independently at least. So I'm just gonna try, and hopefully I will have a report on Wednesday of how that went, and then the following Saturday I will have a game against a German player, and then I'll just try my darndest again, and I'll have a report on that the following Wednesday. Hopefully I will be more consistent about uploading on Wednesday nights, but I just had a terribly busy work week this past week, and had 2 nights of, one night I stayed until 7:20, the other night I stayed until 8 at work, and we still didn't get nearly enough done. But hopefully after that event it will all be getting better. Also, the white deals here, I'm not showing the actual disc, just honestly, it doesn't matter. I got some discs from work just because of some cables that we got, which I didn't know they still made and used discs this small. 2, I don't know why a cable comes with discs, but I asked if I could take those because it didn't seem we had any use for them. And so I'm going to use those as some bases for diorama pieces. But yeah, I look forward to getting done with this league and getting to spend some more time working on modeling and then playing some more fun games. But for now, that's the real reason I've got to push for lots of infantry and just modeling stuff at all, even if it's not to my standard, because I am not winning games. So I hope, though, that this serves as inspiration that you can, over the course of just a week, with just bits and pieces of time thrown in across that week, you can get a lot done. All of this happened. Oh wait, that's not what I counted. All of that happened this week, plus cleaning stuff on the Jeep. And cleaning resin and metal models does take time, but I think it's a fine sacrifice. I'm not terribly concerned with it. So I hope all of y'all have a good rest of your week and that you make some good hobby progress. But first and foremost, take care of yourselves and your families. I pray that all of you are well. Thank you for tuning in, and hope I provided some inspiration for something or other. And I'm actually rather proud of the MG team that I made. So I hope that maybe I inspire someone else to be creative as well and try something out. Anyways, peace.